Okay, let's make this code a little bit cleaner and more useful by using functions. Functions are blocks of code that you can reuse. This makes your code more compact and better organized. We will start by making a function to replace the code for spinning 4 motors. And we will call that function drive. Every function we write needs a type. The type refers to what type of values it is going to return to the place from which it was called. In the case of a drive code, it is not returning anything. It is just causing motors to spin. So it is of type void. And we will call it drive. And for now, I'm just going to put open and close parentheses, which will be a placeholder for variables that we want to pass to this function. And then we have open and close brackets. All of the code in this drive function is going to happen between these two brackets. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste. Actually, I'm going to cut and paste those 5 lines of code. Which will tell the 4 motors to spin and then wait for 1 second. Now in main, I can replace those 5 lines of code with a call to this function, which is drive, open and close parentheses, followed by a semicolon. Oops. Open and close parentheses, followed by a semicolon. So now that single line, that single call to that function replaces those 5 lines of code. So if we wanted to use it over and over again, you can begin to see how this will make our code much cleaner. A further improvement can be to pass the values of the speed of the motors when we call the function. So we could tell these motors to run at different speeds. So in our example, we need a speed for the left side and a speed for the right side. The variable needs a type, which we're going to use integer, and we will call it left speed, and another integer, and we will call it right speed. And then in place of this 50 here, we are going to put left speed and left speed. And for the right side, we're going to put right speed and right speed. And now when I call this function, I need to give it those 2 numbers. So I'm going to put 50, 50. Now this does the same thing as we had. It will call this function and replace left speed and right speed with these 2 numbers, 50 and 50. So you can see this is useful if you want to run the drive at different speeds, or if you want to run the right side and the left side at 2 different speeds to make it turn. Everything can be done by a simple call to this function. The last thing is, suppose we don't want to run for a second, but we want to run for some other amount of time. I like to use a variable just called WT for waiting time, and we put it up here, WT for waiting time, and now we have to add one more number here. So in our case, it was a second. Let's put it here. This will do the same thing as the previous code. Okay, suppose after we drive forward, we now want to make a turn to the right. we can just call this same function, but now we want to turn to the right, so we'll have the left go forward, the right go backward. And why don't we do this also for 1 second, just because, pick a number. So now this will make the robot drive forward, turn to the right, and then stop. How about if after it turns to the right, we want to go ahead and drive forward a little bit? Simple. So you can see the code becomes much more compact and reusable.